philosopher. Here's the truth about slavery. It was coerced labor that relied upon intimidation and brutality and dehumanization. And this wasn't just a cultural system, it was a legal one. I mean, Louisiana law proclaimed that a slave owes his master a respect without bounds and an absolute obedience. The signal feature of slaves' lives was work. I mean, conditions and tasks varied, but all slaves labored usually from sunup to sundown and almost always without any pay. Most slaves worked in agriculture on plantations, and conditions were different depending on which crops were grown. Like slaves on the rice plantations of South Carolina had terrible working conditions, but they labored under the task system, which meant that once they had completed their allotted daily work, they would have time to do other things. But lest you imagine this is like how we have work and leisure time, bear in mind that they were owned and treated as property. On cotton
What I find relatively unique about the period of the enslavement of Africans is that this notion of dehumanizing is not because that other is a threat to you, but because that other does not deserve the treatment you would require, and I put this to service to produce products. In other words, to increase wealth.
Slavery was a business. It was an investment. It was a part of the economy. To own a slave was to own a valuable commodity.
If you hear the dogs, keep going. If you see the torches in the woods, keep going. If they're shouting after you, keep going. Don't ever stop. If you want a taste of freedom, keep going.
Harriet Tubman explored many new ways to help slaves escape their plantations and led them through the Underground Railroad to freedom. She encountered many dangers as she worked to free slaves, but her tremendous success is made possible by the exchange of information with others who were part of the Underground Railroad. Harriet Tubman was born
We're not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic cords of memory, stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over this broad land, will yet swell the chorus of the Union when again touched, as surely they will be by the better angel of our nature.
In an office of the War Department, Lincoln asked for some paper, saying he wanted to write something special. He then sat down and began writing the Emancipation Proclamation.
He would look out the window a while, then put down a line or two, and then sit quiet for a few minutes. Major Thomas Eckert, War Department.
Lincoln wrote this way for several weeks, adding and revising each day, asking Major Eckert to keep it under lock and key. By late July, Lincoln was ready to show it to his cabinet. The proclamation said that in any state still in rebellion by the start of 1863, all slaves would be declared forever free.
Wherein nonviolent resistance means that you do resist in a very strong and determined manner. And I think some of the criticisms of nonviolence, or some of the critics, fail to realize that we are talking about something very strong, and they confuse non-resistance with nonviolence.
The goal of Dr. Martin Luther King is to give Negroes a chance to sit in a segregated restaurant beside the same white man who had brutalized them for 400 years. The goal of Dr. Martin Luther King is to get Negroes to forgive the people who have brutalized them for 400 years by lulling them